a male. Hmm. Really? Expired. Ew, whatever. Really? Seriously? Stop blinking. Anyways, moving on. This character has a dedicated assimilation build for ground, which, okay, some enemies can't be assimilated. Have to switch out assimilate when I'm fighting those. I think my favorite one for switching out is the orbital tractor beam or orbital cutting laser thing. But I also often use crawler swarm not because toxic damage is great, although the toxin clouds are actually something that stack. So when you summon 4 crawler mines, having the toxin clouds stack like that will make enemies take a lot more toxic damage than you would expect at first. So, what are my bridge officers for this? I'm using Kal-El, 21, Narina, and 7 of 7. Which, for this character, I decided to have like a Borg theme for her crew where they're not, full Borg looking Borg, but more like liberated Borg kind of thing. So they tend to have Borg like costumes, even if they're not actually Borg bridge officers. Yeah. Again, two-piece not cool set. Why? I don't remember. It amuses me that this one has a mod for plasma damage resistance rating specifically, and it's a weak sauce one. Barely even noticeable. The toxic damage resistance rating is kind of nice. For missions when you actually are expecting to take toxic damage, that is. But whatever. Yeah, the time slip is kind of useful. Oh yeah, agents training. She gets the bonus critical stuff. Okay, so what are the? Oh yeah, that's another amusing thing. I have the Borg exoskeletal frame on this character because this character has the Borg thing that causes so you have inherent regeneration. This is kind of like the whole like efficient Borg nanites thing that the bridge officers will have, except as a captain species trait. Notice how it says extra regeneration and resilience. But that's apparently talking about shield regeneration. It doesn't actually give you a damage resistance rating bonus on the ground. Whatever. Anyways, so call out. Also has plasma weapon specialist, has physical strength as well as plasma weapon specialist, and is an SRO. If you've guessed that this is one of the Delta Rising operations bridge officers, you would be correct. The one of the Delta Rising operations bridge officers for Romulans is an engineer with SRO. This one. Which means that she came with a suite of intel abilities and that I needed to give her engineer abilities because she didn't come with any. Uh, Honestly, I have tinkered with this particular bridge officer's build so much over the years that she has like 2, 3 sets of things that you can give her. Why? Because not all intel abilities are actually things that bridge officers can use intelligently. Sonic suppression fuel. I sometimes give it to bridge officers, but there's not really a good benefit from it. Bridge officers aren't smart enough to use flanking properly. So, an ability like this will not actually accomplish much. Tripwire drones, they just spam it like you would expect a bridge officer to spam grenades. Enemy detected, fling tripwire drone. Thing is, tripwire drones, because it's an AoE, the bridge officer's probably going to hit something with it. Resident Tachyon stream. Because of the way bridge officers tend to hit their abilities as soon as they can, there's a high chance that your bridge officer will suck the shields off of a target with this before the target's shields get dropped by weapons fire. Because they will usually do this, then shoot at them. And of course, turrets, because I like turrets. Giving a bridge officer a plasma repeater pistol isn't necessarily a good thing. I have a Mark 15 plasma repeater pistol because Emani used to use one. That used to be the weapon she had as her main one. I got a Bat D. Bat D is a really fun toy. It's not really what I would consider to be a particularly good weapon in terms of actually killing things, but you know. Um, Attempting to use assimilate distinctiveness enough times to actually get it ranked up is challenging at best. It's more fun to just use it to teleport at random, honestly. Anyway, so oh yeah, also I'm actually using the full shattering harmonics set on this character because I bought that before Delta Rising came out. I've had that on her for a very long time. I actually like it, shockingly enough. The um, resonance imbalance set bonus is good. Melee attacks debuff your target for 3 seconds, causing their shields to take 15% extra damage while incoming attacks. Which, at first glance, you're like, yes, but doesn't melee go through shields? Well, sort of. You see, one of the things this weapon does is barely even mentioned in the tool tab. Can absorb incoming attacks during combo moves. What this means, this is that thing where it goes from looking like a metal sword to looking like a lightsaber. And the bonus damage that it picks up as part of that doesn't penetrate shields. So you're going to hack your way through enemy shielding anyways. Also, this set was designed before they changed melee weapons to have 80% shield penetration, if I remember right. So, by that standard, it actually makes more sense for it to have a shield weakening effect. That and your bridge officers are probably going to shoot him anyways. Like, realistically, if an enemy has survived you hitting it once or twice, your bridge officers are going to just shoot it as soon as they can. And if they're using ranged energy weapons, well, then, there goes the shields. Anyway, so 21. This is also a Delta Rising bridge officer. I gave her a simulated plasma because I thought it would be fun. Kintari Fortified Personal Shield. This is an episode reward item that well, honestly, I was just tinkering with it. Reduces environmental damage to shields by 25%. Here's the thing. What is environmental damage? Fire, cold, radiation, toxic. I think I don't believe electricity is considered environmental damage, but it might be. Might be considered energy damage on ground. Energy damage and environmental damage are general categories, and environmental damage, uh, there are things that do environmental damage to you. Is this a great way to do? Well, I don't know. Also, why this says reduces plasma damage to shields by 20% for 5 minutes, I don't know, because it doesn't actually give you a buff with a timer on it. I think the for 5 minutes thing is just a tooltip error. Also, it reduces plasma damage to shields. So if your shields go down, eh. But again, Borg Bridge Officer so has inherent shield regeneration. Now, 10% chance, 20% plasma damage buff for 4 seconds when you take damage. This is part of the reason why she has plasma pistols, because the shield gives her a damage bonus for plasma damage when she uses the pistols. Again, efficient, superior Borg nanites, Borg neuroblast, peak health. This is a pretty similar setup. Photonic decoy is something that bridge officers will spam the crap out of. And the photonic decoys will then go and find more enemies to aggro because their reason for existing is to aggro enemies. Yes, this will pull enemies from rooms you aren't standing in because the photonic decoy, unlike the AI for a bridge officer, will not stand next to you when you're holding still. Bridge officers would do that, and as long as they're not being actively fired on by an enemy, they won't do anything until something starts attacking them. Photonic decoy is different. It is always angry, and if there's an enemy close enough that it can see that enemy, it will hunt it down just so it can aggro it. Will this sequence break missions? Maybe. Will it pull in enemies in a battle zone that you had no interest in attacking? Yes! Absolutely! Oh, it is actually a really good skill to have when you want to do something like aggro all of the Gorn in the Gorn Canyon on Nimbus for a Gorn killing endeavor. Really good for that. Uh, but for story missions, it's actually a very good distraction because of the fact that it has a bonus aggro effect. Because, like it says with the taunting thing, and it will get aggro and prevent your team from getting shot at. I also gave her interface decay, which has a hilariously short recharge time so that she can use it ridiculously often. This is a lockbox module, so it's not cheap. You know what? Let's look and see how much that one costs. Okay, so this is the kit module version of interface decay. Okay, let's see here. Right, training manual, science, search. Okay, that one's rather expensive nowadays. Huh. When I got it, it wasn't anywhere near this expensive. Yeah, okay. Um, this hurts, and well, also is that a lot of the time with this one, the negative damage resistance rating will cause that particular enemy to take so much damage from other attacks that the interface decay effect doesn't expire, and they die first, which means it doesn't explode. But oh well. The important part's the enemy's dead now. Why the enemy died, don't care. Oh, also, this one, I gave her tricorder scan. While she doesn't do a particularly good job of choosing targets, it does have a reasonably short recharge time, so I don't really worry too badly if she messes it up. And of course, Jim Hadar armor because the regen rate on this is stupid, which makes her inherent regeneration even worse because double stacked regeneration. Beckbon, he's not ground team. Okay, Kal 21, 7 of 7. Now, note this is not a Delta Rising bridge officer. This is a bridge officer that, if I remember correctly, you get from the Legacy of Romulus bundle. Yeah, the really, really old one that came out with the Legacy of Romulus expansion that added Romulan Republic as a playable faction to the game. That was the bundle that you get this guy from. Only liberated Borg Reman that I know of in the game. Anyways, though. So, his traits: efficient, superior Borg nanites, superior Borg, neuroblast. This guy has mind drain, which is a psionic damage attack, and it also gives you a self heal. It's okay. It's not amazingly powerful. However, if one of your teammates gives the target a negative damage resistance rating, that will be affected by that will affect the amount of damage mind drain does. This guy: ambush, tactical EMP bombardment, lunge, and battle strategies. Yeah, I gave him a melee build, which is a weird melee build because of the fact that I have Burnham CQC armor, the Lucari shield. Why I gave him the Lucari shield, I don't fully remember, but this is a shield that regenerates 42 shield capacity every 2 seconds is not a bug. It really does that much shield regeneration. And the Knuckle armor, because honestly, I don't remember why I gave him the Knuckle armor. It's probably just to get it out of my inventory. It's not bad armor, but you know. And for a melee weapon, I gave him the Mind Meld device from Discovery Rep because it's a pretty powerful melee weapon. All right. So who is the fourth one? Narina. Yeah. 7 dual Tetrian rifles, Sompek personal shield, and Terran Gorilla combat armor. I use those on a lot of things because of the fact that it's an account unlock that I can claim a functionally endless number of times. So I can literally give it to every single bridge officer on my team. Traits: Romulan operative and subterfuge. So in terms of ground combat ability, she's not that amazing. Also, she has a physical strength trait, but I didn't give her a melee build, so that's kind of wasted. Basic acute senses is the only relevant trait she actually has. Why am I actually using her? That's a good point. I could relatively easily switch her out and switch in a different bridge officer that has better setup for ground. Of the 4 bridge officers on this character that I'm using on ground, she is the least useful. Kal-El is next, but Kal-El is slightly better in that regard. Anyway, skills. Equipment diagnostics is an odd choice in Quick Fix, but this is a character that uses 2 turrets. Because, yes, your bridge officer can have a quantum mortar and a photon mortar at the same time. I think. Not 100% sure about that. I think they can have both of them at the same time. Quick Fix just repairs a turret. Now, it can be used on a non turret, uh, but if. Oh, well, okay. When you have an android bridge officer, giving Quick Fix to an android bridge officer lets them self heal for a stupid amount because they can just use it on themselves as an android. Equipment diagnostics. This gives well, oh yeah, I haven't been doing duty officers. Whoops. Really? A Gorn? I went to Gorn. Okay, roster. Active Forgot to look at this on the previous 3 characters. Oops. On this character, I have this setup: chance to beam in an additional support drone, which that's a captain power. So I don't need to slot that in a kit module slot. Yeah, right here. Diagnostic engineers. Chance to increase ranged weapon damage with equipment diagnostics. The purple version of this is a 35% chance to increase damage by up to 50 for 30 seconds. It's not amazeballs, but it's something that will be applied by the support drone. And also, this is the reason why I actually gave one of my bridge officers equipment diagnostics, is because this allows my bridge officer to apply equipment diagnostics. Okay, I said give. I more like don't remove it. Actually, have her being allowed to use it. I guess the best way to put it. And of course, medics because hypo spam. Oh, actually, on this character, I don't have the or psionic crystal. Yeah, you can go to the Pavan crystal as a ground device by playing that story mission, but I apparently don't have it on this character. It works great with the medics. Okay, so that is all the bridge officers in this character. I actually am seriously considering switching the arena out. But yeah, I don't feel like doing that right now. All right, so let's switch to a different